So I had planned to do this video a lot sooner, but other Nintendo Switch 2 videos kind of came up. You know, sometimes there's big news to cover in the moment, whatever. And this one kept getting pushed off. But we're doing it now, and that is comparing the Nintendo Switch 1 launch titles, launch games, to the Nintendo Switch 2 launch games, and how do they compare? Because I've seen a lot of people talking online and kind of, you know, talking, oh man, the Switch 1 had a better launch lineup and different things like that, and more games, whatever. You might actually be surprised. You know, at the end of the day, if we kind of actually think back, there was one main game that really carried the Nintendo Switch 1 at launch, and that game was definitely Snipperclips. Okay, in all honesty, Snipperclips is a great game. I still got to finish it. I started it with my wife, and we never got to finish it. Great game from what I've played, though. But no, in all honesty, it's The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That game carried the Switch 1 at launch because we'd been anticipating that game for quite some time. I mean, it was a while. We kept hearing about this game. There was, you know, we were calling it Zelda Wii U, I think, at some point. We had a bunch of kind of demos that I think it was Aonuma-san and Miyamoto-san together kind of showing it off, and you know, there's that whole like demo that they did, whatever, and then, you know, it was still a lot longer to wait, I think, after that, if I recall correctly. So we had been anticipating it, and it eventually was a dual release on Wii U and then simultaneously on Switch on launch day. And it was a great game. It was a massive game. It was a huge world. And so that was a pretty awesome game that, you know, really carried the Switch. And I think it was such a heavy hitter that people look at the Switch launch and that's what they remember, right? They remember that. And then they also remember the lineup in terms of like the window, not launch day, but the launch window. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to compare the two. I'll list you guys the Switch 1 launch games and the Switch 2 launch games. We'll see how they compare. If you enjoy this kind of content, leave a like, subscribe for more. Do a variety of Nintendo-based content from videos like this and news and guides and walkthroughs. It's a really fun time. I'm really excited about the Switch 2, and it's going to be a good year. Lord willing, all goes as planned. So let's go ahead and jump straight into this. So the Switch 1 launch lineup was as follows. 1-2 Switch, which was a great game. People argued that it should have been bundled in because Wii Sports was. They're doing the same thing with Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, whatever. But either way, it was fun and it kind of showed off the HD Rumble. So 1-2 Switch, Just Dance 2017, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, of course, the big heavy hitter, Skylanders Imaginators. We had Super Bomerman R, which was another great game that I had done like a playthrough of the story most of the way with my son at the time, who was very young, and we never did the last level. So if you guys want to see us do that, like all these years later, he's way older now, let me know. That'd be kind of fun, just kind of do that last level before Switch 2. Anyways, I am Setsuna, how you pronounce it, Snipperclips, like I mentioned, which again, amazing game. If you never played that, you got to pick it up. It's like one of those kind of smaller games, but you know, fun puzzle co-op games. Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, Shovel Knight Spectre of Torment, and then Fast RMX. That's it. Those were the ones. I didn't pay attention to like half of this list at launch. I had 1-2 Switch, Breath of the Wild, Super Bomerman R, and Snipperclips. Those were the 4 games that I got personally at launch. But there were Japanese launch titles as well. I'm going to butcher this name. Disgaea, I think. Disgaea 5. Listen, don't roast me too hard in the comments, okay? I'm bad with words. I'm not very smart. Complete. We also had Nobunaga's Ambition, Sphere of Influence. We also had Puyo Puyo Tetris S. And you might be saying, yeah, but we had that in North America too. Not on launch, not on March 3rd. I think that came a little bit later, excuse me, at launch window, I believe. I think it was. Anyways, again, we had Romance of the Three Kingdoms 13 and Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2. Again, these were exclusively released in Japan on March 3rd. Confirmed launch windows titles. You know, that's where you're probably thinking, right? Like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We got it in the launch window. That means it was between March and the end of June. So we had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe come out. We had ARMS. We had Puyo Puyo Tetris, like I said. We had Splatoon 2. A lot of big games that came out. Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2 also came over. So again, a lot of big games that came out in that kind of launch window. So it was a good first few months, good first year. But again, those were not launch titles specifically. For the launch day, it was actually a pretty modest launch lineup, to say the very least. In terms of Switch 2, though, let's take a look at that because the list is a lot a lot larger, actually. A lot more third-party support as well, which you'd like to see. The big heavy hitter, of course, for Nintendo Switch 2 launch lineup is going to be Mario Kart World. Massive, super ambitious Mario Kart, game. I'm really excited about it, you guys. By the time you see this video, I'm hoping to get this video out before the Mario Kart World Direct, but who knows? Maybe the publishing is going to be pushed off as well till after that. But either way, the Direct's happening on the 17th, and that's going to be the big game. Breath of the Wild, the funny thing is, we're sort of getting Breath of the Wild again. We're getting the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, 4K and all that, 4K 60, up-res, right? We got better graphics, better textures, better load times, better frame rates, which we're going to need in Korok Forest. So Breath of the Wild, but alongside that, we're also getting Tears of the Kingdom Nintendo Switch 2 edition on launch day as well. We're going to be getting the Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Classics. So that, of course, Nintendo Switch Online with all those classics were not there. Launch day for the Nintendo Switch, that came later on. So we're getting these 3 games. Not the Wind Waker we would like to see. We want to see Wind Waker HD, but we're getting Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, and Soul Calibur 2 as part of the GameCube package. Again, they're not necessarily Switch 2 games, but GameCube games on the Switch 2. We're getting the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. A lot of, controversy around this one. It's a $10 game. It has a ton of mini games. Teaches you about the Nintendo Switch 2 console at the same time. I think it's a lot more than what people are calling just a user manual. But either way, I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to kind of tell you guys what the games are. Deltarune chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're getting Split Fiction, which I played on my other channel. Really good game. And I just actually heard recently that Split Fiction is going to take advantage of the game share capabilities, which is great because Split Fiction is a game that you can only play 2-player anyway, so that's amazing. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, I mean, like I said, pretty heavy hitters in the third-party department. Street Fighter 6 Official Years 1 to 2 Edition, Kunitsu Gami Path of the Goddess, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, Hogwarts Legacy. Of course, we had that on the Switch, but we're getting a Switch 2 version of that. Again, another big, third-party game that looks way better than it did on the Switch. Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, Fortnite, of course, Fast Fusion, and Fortnite is on the Switch. So, I mean, I guess you can maybe say, well, that doesn't count. Hitman World of Assassination Signature Edition, Nobunaga's Ambition Awakening Complete Edition, Survival Kids, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, I believe is how you pronounce it, Arcade Archives 2, Ridge Racer, and Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S. Wow. I mean, that's a pretty big lineup. That's a lot bigger of a lineup than the Switch 1. And I think that one of the big reasons for that is, number one, first of all, we're getting some Switch 2 editions of 2 big Zelda games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They're not new games, okay, technically, but they got some pretty nice upgrades to them, from, my opinion. And then a ton of third-party games that we just haven't seen on the Switch, because the Switch is not capable of kind of handling these games, right? Hogwarts Legacy, Street Fighter 6, Cyberpunk 2077, Split Fiction, Yakuza 0, Director's Cut, Hitman World of Assassination. Like, there's a lot of big games in here, right? Civilization 7, a lot of big games in terms of third party. So I think third party is what's really bulking up the launch titles for the Switch 2. And again, in terms of Switch 2 beyond launch, the next month we're getting Donkey Kong Bonanza. We know that's coming out in July. Assumingly, we don't know, but assumingly the Nintendo usually has a direct in June, and at that point we'd probably learn about other games that are going to be coming out for the rest of the year, leading up until the end of the year. We do know a couple. One of those is Pokemon Legends ZA, right? That's a huge game coming out in the launch window. We know another one that is going to be Metroid Prime 4, massive game coming out in that launch window. We know Hyrule Warriors, what is it called? I want to say Age of Calamity. I think it's Age of Imprisonment. That's coming out in the winter. We don't know when. It could be a 2026 title, but still within the first year of the Switch 2 being out. That's a massive title. Again, there's a bunch of other games we don't know about that are going to be coming out. We're going to be getting the Switch 2 edition of Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is not just upgrades, better visuals. I think they said it was 2K, that one. So 1440p, 60 FPS, but also we're getting a bunch of DLC, new levels, new enemies, new boss fights, and all that in Kirby. We're also getting Super Mario Party Jamboree Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which, of course, besides just the upgrades, is coming out with a big expansion pack that, has a bunch of new mini games that are going to utilize the Nintendo Switch 2 with the mouse controls and the microphone is built in. So different things like that. If you get the camera as well, there's additional games you can play with the Nintendo Switch 2 camera. These are all like launch window games. I mean, year one, day one for the Switch 2 is a lot stronger, I think. Arguably, I mean, it's a little subjective. You could be like, well, you know, Breath of the Wild being a new game, we got a new Zelda game, but I would say Switch 2 is arguably a very, you know, stronger lineup for the day one kind of, you know, launch lineup. And then moving out from that into launch window and just kind of the first year of the Switch 2, it's extremely strong. And again, we don't know, there's other games they're gonna announce inevitably at some Nintendo Direct, whether it's in June or wherever it is, that, you know, they're gonna showcase and reveal other games that we don't even know about. Like, I mean, who knows? There could be a 3D Mario somewhere. Probably not yet, since they're coming out with Donkey Kong Bonanza. They're probably gonna hold off a little bit for a 3D Mario, maybe, but we really don't know. We don't know the possibilities, but what we do know is massive, like I said. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I wanted to make this video, I wanted to talk about the launch lineup. I think it's huge. And when you kind of compare the two, when you look at it, it's like, it's pretty strong. Nintendo's coming out swinging with the Switch 2, and hopefully that's going to be the start for a another very successful console. Switch 1, of course, selling over 150 million, almost the biggest selling console of all time. And yeah, it's going to be crazy. So let me know what you're most excited for out of these games. And for everything else Nintendo, keep it locked. We're going to keep talking about it. Guides, walkthroughs of these games when they come out, live streams. It's a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun to be had. So keep it locked. Till the next one, friends. Game on. Thanks for watching.